share part of my story. Many of you know it, those who've been with me for a while. But I spent the majority of my life locked in a cage because of my problem primarily with drugs. You know, I drank too, but using alcohol, it was just a catalyst for me. I started drinking a little bit, then I ended up wanting to smoke a little bit, and for long I'm shooting a lot. That's was the story of my life for many years. When I was 11 years old, I started doing LSD, and then that went on for a while, which of course led to many other substances. And by the time I was 21 years old, I'd already been to prison one time and spent a lot of years in juvenile detention centers. And I was just a bad boy. And today I share my story for those who might be bad boys and girls, because I want to let people know that you can change. And it's really easy to give up on people who have, told lies repeatedly about how they was going to quit, and then they end up going right back to doing it. And I did it for many years. And that is the nature of addiction. I had to learn to, after I got into recovery, I had to learn to separate the disease from the person, in myself as well as in others who I wanted to be able to help them to be able to live the same way that I was learning to live. And that was, that's part of my recovery, is helping others. And it takes a lot of love and tolerance sometimes to be able to deal with an addict or an addiction, somebody that's struggling with whatever it is. Addiction has many wings, and I had a few of them with me. But like I said, primarily I was a drug addict. And then in 1995, April 1995, I learned to live without drugging and drinking, and I have maintained my sobriety. So I'm coming up on 30 years, and that is a miracle. Believe me, that is a miracle. I was a hopeless dope fiend. I couldn't keep the needle out of my arm. I robbed drugstores. I did a lot of things to support my addiction. And again, that's why I spent most of my life in a cage, inside of jails, prisons. With the last one being for armed bank robbery and associated charges. Some of my other videos, some of my links, I've discussed that. I won't go more into detail about the actual crimes I went to prison for, but that is really irrelevant, because it don't matter about why a person goes. It's usually the cause. If I want to change, then I've got to go in, I've got to look at the cause. What made me do the things that I did. And it was really easy for me to figure out. When I was not doing drugs or alcohol, I did well. I'm an industrious person. I don't mind working. I'm a dedicated worker. I apply myself, and I always do well on the jobs I have. And that's where I'm going right now. I'm going to work. But now I live an hour away from where I work at. So that's one reason why I'm so pressed for time. Yes, if I could learn to recover, then so can other people. And I've had a lot of people to tell me that after I shared my story, that was some of the things that helped to inspire them. They looked at it, if I could do it, then they could do it. And you can, you just got to want to do it. And it took me a lot of years of having to try to be honest with myself, and then admit that I really wanted to change. I just because I kept failing, it was easier just to give up and not to try. Then I didn't have to feel less than or humiliated because I failed to do what I said I was going to do. and I did that for a lot of years. But today, I don't live that way. And that is something that it would have been nice if when I was younger I could have got that, you know, I could have learned how not to drink and use and to live the life that God had planned for me. I couldn't do that. I couldn't get away from it. And that went on from the time that I was 11 years old till right before I turned 38. And I spent probably altogether maybe 40 years locked up, you know, since I began. And after I quit, I was still in prison for another 23 and a half years. And, you know, if I hadn't changed my life while I was inside, and then those last 23 years started working on becoming a better man, I would have never made it to the point I made it today. You know, history would have repeated itself. I would have done the same thing. I'd have got out, went back to drinking and drugging, and you know, and before long I'm going to break out in felonies, and you know, I'm going to go around and start collecting victims. Once I go to drinking and drugging, something's going to happen. You know, so today I don't want nothing to happen like that. I want to be a positive influence. I want to help people, not harm people. And that's why I live the life I do today. You know, that gives me a lot of gratitude, and I feel very blessed to be able to be driving up the road right now in my own vehicle that's paid for, and be able to share my story as evidence that you can change. You know, we just got to do it one day at a time. And you know, for those of you never heard of it, there's programs that will help people. The 12-step programs. Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, or Nicotine Anonymous, whatever it is, there's probably a 12-step program for it. And I'm happy today that I don't have to drink or use. And I've seen a lot of people going to 12-step programs, who did change their lives. And a lot of them I met where I was at, who now live productive lives. They, like me, learn to live without the use of drugs or alcohol, and they have good lives. And if you're struggling with the drugging and drinking, and or whatever it is, the issue that you're facing, just know that there's hope. Don't give up. Miracles happen. Just take it one day at a time, and don't hesitate to reach out for help. And I was one of the numerous addicts who had underlying mental disorder, and I also had to deal with that. I had to deal with the issues that made me want to drink and use. And once I was able to do that, then started to learn to live by different spiritual principles, then I was able to have a different life. Then sanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. So I had to learn to not to do the same things over and over, because I knew where it was going to end. And so today, I know one is too many and 1,000 never enough, in the words of the book of Narcotics Anonymous. I do appreciate you listening to me. I hope this helps someone, and don't hesitate to share it. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.